Alright guys, welcome back. We kind of finished up our buildings here. All I did while I was exporting that video was just cleaning up these edges, kind of getting that all erasing those converging lines. Kind of just cleaning them up a little bit here. So the very next thing now is we are going to move on to our tree. So I'm going to go ahead and figure out where do you want your tree to sit on the right side. So now we're on the right side of the paper. And what I strongly suggest is keeping something here. We don't want it too big. We want it to match up a little bit with maybe in between the window and the door. So I would strongly suggest something like that. So all I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and make my tree. Now, if you don't know how to make a tree, the best thing is to kind of think of it as like a mountain coming up, and then do the other side the opposite way, so it comes out. So again, it's like a backward C and then a C. Kind of give it that little curve. And then of course you can do any type of top that you want for your tree. I'm just going to do a basic kind of like scribble top that we kind of see here. So again, I'm just going to emphasize, give it some more, here we go, some details there, kind of give it some of that. Another thing that you need to remember with this, because this is the part that's like, I would say the most complicated, is that your object here needs to be something that looks like you, that has a lot of detail. So you have to actually put some detail and some work here in your tree. And maybe put some little bark marks here, and of course add some depth, maybe a little bit here, maybe a little bit more here, whatever you would like to do. Again, this should be where most of your depth and most of the details are going to be, because remember, if it's closer to you, it's going to have more detail. You can see things, but as it gets further away, the detail fades. So we're going to do the same thing here. And then of course you can add, I don't know if you want to add little bushes here, like little flowers or little parts of grass. That's really up to you, but I'm just going to do that. Alright, so we have our tree, we have what we want. We're going to go ahead and do the same thing with the converging lines. So in our presentation there was a video that kind of explains that you need to start from the very bottom of the tree, and you're going to match it up to your vanishing point that way. And we're going to do the same thing again with the top. So I'm going to go straight from the top of my tree, which is right here, and I'm going to go ahead and create that converging line that way. And boom. So now I have, again, I have my tree, I have my converging lines, just like we did over here. Now we're going to do a series, and this is tree number 1. We're going to go ahead and make tree number 2 right about here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same kind of tree, but remember, it can't go over this converging line. So the top part of my tree really can't go over that part of my converging line. Again, you can get as creative with it as you want. And then of course, it's meaty. It's like right in the middle between the front and the back. So we should still see some details. Maybe not a whole lot of details, but we still see some. And as you can see, I'm pushing less on my pencil. I'm just going very less with it. Maybe put some little leaves here too, little things like that. And again, you can add those details if you want to, you know, kind of darkening them up a little bit so that it looks like a tree. And I would actually try to cut that off there. Alright, so now we have this tree. Now that's tree number 2. We're gonna go ahead and do tree number 3. So tree number 3, again, do not go past this line. It needs to be straight up and down, but don't go past this line. And all we're gonna do is we're gonna do the same thing, but because I don't have a whole lot of space, my top needs to be just a tad bit smaller. And kind of do something like that. Now I can add the details again, but as you see, when I'm adding those marks here, these little bark marks, you'll see that my tree ends up being pretty darker than this one, but that's totally fine because remember, as we work our way towards the vanishing point, these become darker. Kind of give it some leaves there. You can give it some, if you want to, give it some of those these little grass. Alright, so now that we have that done, we're going to go ahead and erase our converging lines, get rid of them. Kind of give it some space there. Now sometimes they'll go through and that's totally fine. You can always just cover them up with more pencil mark or shading. So if you leave these, if you have to leave these, you can definitely shade them out. And I could show you how to do that next. Alright, so that is our trees. You, again, feel free to kind of come through and add those details here and there that you would like to add. And again, that's it for 1, 2, and 3.